The press is closely fanning the flames of fascism, and they fucking can't even call it what the fuck it is. But can we call it fascism yet? And discussing the meaning of the taboo F word in relation to Donald Trump's past behavior and future plans, should he get back into squatting as in the White House, which he won't. The former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance wanted to know, can we even call it fascism and what it is? Um, Now, as a simple and working definition of fascism and one way to call out fascist politicians and political parties for what they are, I would recommend that we use the Britannica Dictionary. Um, it's a way of organizing a society in which a government ruled by a dictator controls the lives of the people and in which people are not allowed to disagree with the government. Um, Now, think Governor Ron DeSantis, the Republican-controlled state of Florida. The anti-woke governor epitomizes a legalistic fascist without the benefits of the First Amendment. Um, Now, going as far back as December of 2015, people were asking whether Donald Trump was a fascist, and yes, he was, and he still is. Now, at the time, 8 experts weighed in, and Vox determined, call him a kleptocrat, an oligarch, a xenophobe, a racist, even an authoritarian. They claimed that he didn't fit the definition of a fascist, but he does. Um, Now, at the time, and even after Trump took the reins of power in 2017 and held it through January 20th of 2021, Trump and his inbred sycophants may have been anti-immigrant, anti-black, and chauvinistic. Back then and now, Trump and his inbreds may have been refusing to denounce the violence of the maggot extremists or domestic weapons of mass terrorism. Now, however, the anti-fascist labeling folks in the media were giving Trump a pass as a fascist because he has never been in charge. He has never been in charge or led a fascist government. Now, at least not yet. Um, but only if the government or people could stop Trump, because the former squatter and leading GOP candidate for the Republican nomination in 2024 has been doing everything in his power to pull up a dictatorship of the alt-right body politics. At this particular point in time, we're relying most heavily on criminal prosecutors like Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Jack Smith, and Fani Willis, rather than the American electoral system to get the job done. For the past 8 years, Trump has used he had used fascist political and legal tactics to bring about an anti-democratic government to deconstruct the state apparatus. In the words of Steve Bannon. Um, This entails breaking the democratic rules or systems of law of law and order in order to establish a hyper-partisan tyranny of a politically controlled minority. Now, the majority of the Republican elected officials so far in the Trumpian Republican Party as a whole are all in with anti-democratic authoritarianism, and if not fascism per se, as elected representatives have been busy proposing and passing as fast as they can fascistic legislation in every red state across America, which is why red states are the worst states to live in. Nothing exemplifies this fascism more than the Trumpian attacks on the IRS, FBI, DOJ, the prosecutors, the judges, and anyone else trying to enforce the rule of law against him or his inbred sycophants. And not to mention the Trumpian Republican efforts to suppress the vote and to overturn the rules of the democratic election statewide for the purposes of nullifying the will of the people. Now, some contend that this failure to call a fascist to call a fascist has to do with your definition of fascism and how you want to use it. Now, I think that the reluctance of the body politic and mass media to use the F word goes well beyond semantics. It is about the American psyche and our real or imagined identities of what Americans truly are, and the four states' ideologies about delivering balanced political news coverage, even when there is no symmetry no symmetry whatsoever between the two adversarial sides. For example, here, the negotiated debt ceiling bill that staved off a catastrophic default is being celebrated as a bipartisan deal without, one, acknowledging that the bill should never have had to be negotiated or extorted in the first place, two, examining the content and the negative consequences for the global environment, tax-paying non-billionaires and student debt, just to mention three obvious examples, and three, underscoring that the deal itself, regardless of the content, establishes a terrible precedent for the future, where the contradictory or non-productive debt ceiling deals like this one will be passed again and again. Now, the news media ignores the fact that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans could afford politically to be viewed or held accountable for a calamitous default. But they had no choice but to pass the bad deal for the American people. What seems to have mattered to the media was primarily that the Senate approval vote was 63 to 36, and that more than 300 people in the House of Representatives voted affirmatively for the bill. Now, hence the existing experiment in American democracy and bipartisanism is still working. Blah 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 fucking blah. Now, unfortunately, the mass media has been preoccupied with the news making bipartisan negotiated let's make a deal thing. With the rhetoric, as the rhetoric goes, nobody gets everything that they fucking want, emphasizing that the bipartisan extremes at both ends of the imaginary political spectrum are not happy with the deal. As if that makes it some type of a good deal. This type of rhetoric of reification is always defended by the bromide that this is how tyrannies of a minority how tyrannies of a minority rather than tyrannies of a majority are supposed to work. Now, once again here, it is always about form without regard to content, and never mind that the agenda of the left extreme of the left or the progressive caucuses in Congress are about expanding democracy, the individual rights, social equity, and political inclusion and the right extremists, or the freedom caucuses in Congress are about contracting democracy, individual rights, equity, and political inclusion. Now, the fundamental differences can be characterized as for the Democrats as a whole, moderate or progressive. They are pro-democratic, and the Republicans as a whole, moderate or reactionary or anti-democratic, and they're fascists as a whole. Now, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. You can also go ahead and leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the about section of YouTube. And for just a little as a few bucks a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.